I mean, do you support these Labour measures? Are they going to be enough to prevent this from happening? Just what's going on?
Well, we have to bide our time because obviously there's got to be an election and they've got to win the election before we get there. And by the looks of things on that Savantopol, they will be doing. So, yeah, step by step, little by little, but nothing's going to be worse than what we've seen over the last several years. And this really goes back to the privatisation of water companies. Never should have happened. It's happened. And so there's your first cog in what is almost a quadruple whammy. The next one was Brexit, which removed the EU stringent environmental laws, which allowed then water companies, in concert with a very feeble Tory party that were in concert with the shareholders. So all the emphasis shifted to profit rather than necessarily to public well-being and safety. And then you've got Ofwat, which is basically a lion without teeth. He's going nowhere fast. Put all that together and you end up with what you've got at this moment in time. And you're dead right. You know what? I watched the boat race yesterday. And it was all over there. And to be frank with you, you hear stories, and I don't think they're stories, I think they're true. The sewage was going into the River Thames as they were rowing. I mean, how crass is this? How crass is it? So, no, we need a major, major change. And I hope that the Labour Party, once they get to government, will make those changes in a robust way.
Well, the Labour Party, though, aren't proposing to take us back into the European Union. I mean, you say Brexit's partly responsible for all this waste being pumped into our rivers. It was happening before Brexit, though. Come on, Jim. You know, many people agree with you on this particular issue, but when you bring Brexit into it, I think that's slightly unfair, do you not? So,
not really, no. 2016, our beaches had what's called blue flags. Blue flags were an idea of the EU in terms of ensuring that those laws, the environmental laws that they brought in, stayed there. And if you didn't have a blue flag, it meant that your beach was in some way polluted or not as good as the next beach. So people strove for that. They strove for environmental. And I'll say this openly, okay? This people talk about the red wall, and a lot of emphasis on the red wall in terms of the direction of travel as far as election. I'll tell you what, this is the blue wall. Make it absolutely clear that these areas, including the PM's own constituency in Richmond, this is where the rivers and the seas come together. And those users that you already mentioned, the wild swimmers, the fishermen, the boaters, you name it, those sort of people, they love their waterways. And this will be a death knell in those blue wall seats for the Tory party. And I think that's been shown in that Savantopol.
All right. So, I mean, in the interim, I mean, how soon do you think this is going to be resolved? Because it does seem that there's consensus across Parliament now that something needs to happen. I mean, how quickly can we actually sort out this issue? Because it's obviously unacceptable.
First of all, foremost, we've got to get the perpetrators out. And as I say, the Tories in hot with the water companies, the shareholders, and the CEOs of these companies.
Well, that's a tall charge, Jim. You know, Rishi Sunak's not in bed with Thames Water.
Who's in charge of this country?
Well, Rishi Sunak, but you just mentioned the shareholders of Thames Water. That's a serious statement accusation.
Yeah, Darren, they've got power. When they go to shareholders' meetings, they can actually vote. They can vote a CEO in and out. They can vote, change the agenda. I think you know that. What's happened is all of this in fairly rapid time has almost sunk under the bridge in the river. And that's what we're now picking up. So, yes, it will take time. There's no doubt about that. The first part of this is the clean up the mess. But in order to get there, we've got to get rid of this government. We've got to move it. And by the way, I know Ben's sitting alongside you there. It won't be the Reform Party. That same Savantopol showed that they might come second in 6 seats. That doesn't get you anywhere. There's only going to be 2 parties that have the chance of forming the next government and doing anything about this, and that is the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. Pick your choice.
All right, Jim Dale, thank you very much for your thoughts.